I am Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
He's charged with the gravest of crimes. Akala natin 43 counts lang. Hindi. There is one crime. Crimes against humanity. Yung kay Medialdea, sorry to say, galawang Filipino lawyer. The first thing you ask the court is for a postponement.
May mga gagawa pa ba yung Supreme Court natin? Pwede pa bang ma-compel ng Supreme Court yung gobyerno natin to ask the ICC, pakibalik nga yung aming pinadala dyan sa inyo?
No, highly unlikely.
No return, no exchange, ha?
If after conviction and he has been sentenced to imprisonment, a member state will volunteer to take him in. Kung member pa sana tayo, pwede nating i-offer ang bilibid. Hindi na tayo member. But I don't know if even the Philippine government will consider that. Kung Marcos will even think of that, returning Duterte to the Philippines.
Those who destroy my country, I will kill you.
Trabaho kayo at ako ang managot.
From newsroom to screen, the Philippine Star continues to deliver stories that matter. Welcome to Truth on the Line, the Philippine Star's pioneer news and current affairs show. I'm Ami Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Joining us here today is Attorney Cristina Conti, an assistant to counsel at the International Criminal Court on former President Rodrigo Duterte's case. Hi, Attorney Conti. Gusto ko lang munang malaman kung ano yung impression mo yung 4-minute presentation ni former Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea doon sa ICC. What are your thoughts?
Well, for a first-timer before an international court, relatively, I would say, good enough. At least he did not stutter. He had a script. He was not, kumbaga, off. Kumbaga, wala talagang preparasyon. Kahit paano, meron namang naihanda. But, I mean, even with the perception of others, it seems that he is a fish out of water. The ICC is a different court altogether from local courts. And for many local practitioners or Philippine practitioners, we were familiar with Medialdea's presentation.
2 days ago, the whole world has witnessed the degrading fashion in which a former president of a sovereign country was bundled into a private aircraft and summarily transported to The Hague. To us lawyers, this would be called an extrajudicial rendition. To the less legally inclined, it was a pure and simple kidnapping.
Manner, method, kung anong strategy na. But I think it did not fly or it did not really convince the judge because from how the judge ruled and set aside his manifestations and even the defense's motions, it would seem as if they were out of depth.
Merong ibang mga lawyer sabi nila, yun daw opening statement is not usual in that kind of court. Or even in the Philippines actually for trial. Ano po yung mga nasabi niya ron?
Well, at the first instance, he mentioned that Duterte had been kidnapped. And that was not under the purview of the proceedings at that time and by the court. So parang okay, noted. That was I wouldn't say improper, but it was really shocking, I would say, for the court. There have been previous incidents that defense lawyers or even the prosecution would make politically charged statements, but not to the extent of kulang na lang kasi atakihin yung court. At the end of the opening statements or of the pre-prepared speech, it would seem as if there was a question as to the jurisdiction of the court, but at the same time, there was an appeal for the court to grant relief. So there was a little bit of cognitive dissonance na parang kinidnap siya, kawawa naman siya, dapat hayaan niyo siyang makalaya. Pero itong korte na 'to ay hindi naman diniretso pero walang kakayahan at wala siyang jurisdiction. Pero sayo pa rin kami lalapit. So, I guess the prosecution has to shape up because there are contending and actually clashing arguments that it has to present before the court. First, the issue of interim relief or interim release rather, which the court will grant, and then questioning the jurisdiction of the court, which says that the court cannot grant or should not have jurisdiction over Duterte in the first place.
Pero alam na natin kung ano, because they will be arguing their case for jurisdiction. We're expecting that in the coming weeks until September 23. At yun na nga yung magiging argumento nila, extrajudicial rendition daw, yung pagkakabigay ng gobyerno natin to The Hague ng person of former President Duterte. What do you think of that argument? Kasi I'm sure yun din ay ipipresenta nila.
So one, before the court, that's a non-issue. They already have jurisdiction over the person. And whatever the arresting state or the custodial state did not do or did, wala siyang magagawa. These states have pertinent and specific duties. Pag hindi nila yung ginawa, they can be taken to account through the assembly of state parties, not at the hearings of the chambers. So actually, the recourse of Duterte would be if he's claiming that there are irregularities in his arrest, the extraordinary rendition, and so forth. These are just irregularities, to be frank, because they do not specifically question the jurisdiction of the court. Kumbaga parang nakawawa ako. And his remedy would be to ask for compensation before the court. As to the other side of it, that, the violations are so grave that this divests the court of jurisdiction. It is the violations that they have raised do not seem to be of such magnitude that would convince the court that it has no jurisdiction over Duterte at this point. Sa atin din kasi, pwede mong sabihin yan na sa sobrang lala ng human rights violation, ng constitutional rights violations, yung korte hindi makakakuha ng jurisdiction dun sa tao. Kasi parang fruit of the poisonous tree, similar to that. Parang mali yung pagkuha, ibig sabihin, mali din yung magiging produkto. We've seen that in several cases that the court will say that the human rights violations are so great. Yung pagkaka-aresto sa'yo, binugbog ka, pinaaming ka, kaya ka na-convict. In this case, it's just irregularities really. And this would not divest or take away the jurisdiction of the court. The proper process would be really to go, to question them. And then if the court rules otherwise, then go to trial on the merits.
Mukhang yan ang pare-parehong opinion ng mga lawyer actually, except of course the lawyers of the president. Pero kung yung ICC mismo, babaliwala na yung mga questions over jurisdiction dahil meron na nga sila, nasa kanila na si President Duterte, may mga gagawa pa ba yung Supreme Court natin? Kasi there are several petitions before the Supreme Court. Kahit pwede pa bang ma-compel ng Supreme Court yung gobyerno natin to ask the ICC, pakibalik nga yung aming pinadala dyan sa inyo?
No, highly unlikely. And i-preface ko lang na yung mga decisions ng court tungkol sa arrests of third parties or third party states na yung mga non-members ng ICC, hindi na nila pinapasok yung tungkol dun sa jurisdiction, kumbaga, or legality of the arrest. Nung nakuha na nila, wala na silang pakialam whether member state or non-member state. All the more kung non-member state. Anong pangahawakan mo dyan? Can the Supreme Court of a non-member state ask the ICC for relief? No, because they are separate, and considering that they have different jurisdictions, they have different authorities, they cannot order each other to do something or not do something or do something improperly. That is very basic. Kumbaga, hindi makikialam ang korte na may ibang charter dun sa korte na may ibang pinaghahalawan ng authority. Sa Pilipinas, that's the Constitution. Sa ICC, that's the Rome Statute. And they're very different statutes or laws. Kung iniisip na, what if through the Philippine government? Because the Supreme Court can only order Philippine authorities. So the Supreme Court is judicial branch. It could either order the legislative branch or the executive branch to do something. Unfortunately, the executive branch now cannot compel the ICC. All the more kung baga yung presidente ng Pilipinas hihingin na, babawiin namin. Hindi, unless it enters into the proceedings, and one, yung conditions then would be, I would imagine, Mag-e-enter siya after saying na magdi-disengage. Sabi ng Pilipinas, "Ay nagkamali pala kami ng arrest," and ask the court for relief. But the court will, I think, stand for it has jurisdiction. I know that this is the person for against whom a warrant of arrest has been issued and he has to stand trial.
No return, no exchange,
Parang gano'n. Ang meron lang sayang, sabi ko nga kung member state sana tayo, I don't know if this will fly because this hasn't been done. Wala pa namang ex-member state na puwedeng na nag-participate sa isang court proceeding or natuloy sa kaso. If after conviction and he has been, sentenced to imprisonment, a member state will volunteer to take him in. Kung member pa sana tayo, puwede nating i-offer ang bilibid. So, babalik siya ng Pilipinas sa gano'ng sitwasyon. Hindi na tayo member. I don't know if a non-member state can come in and say, "Uy, by the way, can we make an exception?" I think the court will look through it or, at least consider. Hindi naman niya ika-thumb down. But I don't know if even the Philippine government will consider that. Kung Marcos will even think of that, returning Duterte to the Philippines. But then again, trial can take years, and we don't know who the next president after Marcos will be. And I don't know if someone from their camp will win and ask for that kind of relief.
Oh, okay. I started this questioning kung ano yung preparation nyo kasi yun ang pinag-uusapan ngayon. Naghahanda na yung prosecution. Of course, they are inviting a British Israeli, no, na medyo may record na sa ICC na napa-acquit niya yung vice president, yung Congolese vice president. Kayo naman, tanungin ko muna kayo, what is the defense? What is the prosecution doing now? Yung local, the victims.
So the victims have a separate personality before the court. So bale, sa atin sanay tayo, prosecution versus defense. Pero dito sa ICC, the victims will also have their legal representation. And that one legal representative, kumbaga may lead lawyer, and we call it the common legal counsel or common legal representative, will have to be chosen from either among ourselves or someone na appointed ng court. And if the victims have different lawyers, kailangang mag-usap-usap. We're looking into this case through the lens of the victims kasi sila yung magre-register, sila yung may personality, and then they will assign or appoint their counsels. The victims can choose whoever they want as counsel. There are many victims and many victims groups. So we need to contend with how many victims and victims groups there will be. There is a process called application to participate in the proceedings. At yan yung nagsimula na actually, pero with the opening of trial of kumbaga, the case of Duterte, may iba ng complexity yan. Kasi prior, we had been, kumbaga, nagpa-participate na kami as to the investigation. Pero kay Duterte, ito na magta-trial na. Sa ICC, every step may application. Well, which is positive kasi, for example, ngayon takot ka, biktima ka, takot ka, gusto mo sanang mag-participate, kaso maraming insidente. In 5 years, medyo mas maluwag na yung sitwasyon mo, pwede ka nang mag-participate, and that is the stage of, for example, reparations. You can register at that point. Kaya, victims can register at different points in the proceedings, which is why we will see a different number of victims participating during trial, during reparations, during sentencing, and so forth. Fluid yan because the court recognizes that the victims have the right to participate and not to participate. Pero what we're seeing is dadami yung victims na magpa-participate rather than malilesen.
May effort ba kayo to consolidate yung mga victims para sabay-sabay na lang kayo o iba-iba siyang kaso?
Iba-iba yung parang groups ng victims, and we did try to coordinate among those who are already organized. There's a little bit of coordination. Parang intuitively, you would know na, okay, ganito yung gagawin. Kami rin, ganito yung gagawin. But we haven't really met and decided. The more important task at hand now is to register the victims, to apply for participation before the court. There will come a time na ipapatawag yan at sasabihin, sino na ba yung ano? There's a process to it. But we do the first step first. Register the victims para yung victims ang pipili ng abogado.
Linawin ko lang, yung prosecution will be the court itself. Iba yun sa victims group that will be presenting the case. Tama ba
Yes.
yun?
Yes. It's just that yung ICC po kasi, it has different parang organs. So, meron siyang admin part. So, the ICC registry. Then, you have also the ICC chambers. At ito yung totoong court. Kumbaga, judge kung judge. Pero we also have the ICC within their universe, the Office of the Prosecutor, which is independent and separate from the judges. It's also, kumbaga, part of the ICC. So, when we say that the ICC will prosecute the case, it is simply that the Office of the Prosecutor will prosecute the case.
Parang yun yung National Prosecution Service natin.
Parang ganon,
And then
oo.
kayo yung abogado ng mga victims.
Parang ito yung ano nga namin, yung itsurahan. Yung ICC para siya, sabihin na natin, Supreme Court. Siya yung trial court, siya din yung Supreme Court. Sa loob niya, may trial court at saka Supreme Court, yun yung chambers. Tapos may DOJ, na within the system. Yung DOJ, medyo part ng government, same as yung Supreme Court and Trial Court. Pero magkahiwalay sila. Hindi naman sila nag-uusap. Hindi sila magkakampi, kumbaga, yung judges at saka yung prosecutor. The defense, kung merong makakasuhan, can call for any lawyer in the Philippines to represent them. The private complainant, di ba yung mga nagrereklamo? Usually kasi sa atin, ang tingin natin, mapupunta kayo or i-represent kayo ng public prosecutor. Dito, hiwalay yung personality mo. Kaya pwede kang kumuha ng private prosecutor. So the defense and the victims, or sa atin nga, private complainant, can get any lawyer who are, kung dito, Philippine lawyer, doon, can get any lawyer who is accredited with the court. Of course, you can add, but here's the deal in the ICC. You can actually ask for money. So there's two parties who have to secure counsel, the victims and the defense. When they secure counsel, of course, they have to pay for that with their own money. If they cannot pay for it, they will have to ask for the court to supplement their budget or to pay for the counsels. Generally, may recommended yan na amounts.
40,000 daw. 40,000 daw ang budget for a month.
Year. A month?
A year ba yun? 40,000 euros?
I would have to check, pero hindi yan ang concern ko sa ngayon eh.
Saka kung
yes.
kung if you're going to claim, if you want assistance from the ICC, financial for attorney's fees, do you have to prove na kailangan mo sila? O paano ko sabihin ng ay yaman-yaman mo, bakit ka humingi ng assistance sa amin?
There's a little bit of process on how you can apply. And ako ang hirap sabihin kasi, ang hirap ko kasi, I mean, si Duterte, if you look at him, yung bahay niya ay yung pa ring bahay niya noon. So he could claim that he's poor. So I don't know how the court will determine kumbaga wealth, kung gaano na ba siya kayaman. Kasi you should contrast it with allegations that he has pocketed hundreds, even millions of pesos, di ba? Doon sa secret, deposits na sila ni Sara, ni VP Sara na nakukuha
Hindi
nila.
pa siya established.
May mga ganon na parang for the court, they will look at his SALN. And if the SALN says he has no money, then he could be entitled to parang free legal aid. Kaya yung concept
I'm asking about it kasi may kamahalan daw si British Israeli, si Mr. Kaufman.
Yeah.
May
Kasi mga
kamahalan daw.
Oo. Kaya
yes.
Pwede niyang sabihin din na, this is how much I get. And for Duterte, I don't think he has any other businesses, no? Per se. Kung baga, as declared, he has no other businesses and his only source of income would be his pension. And I've heard him before that he will use that for his defense, for his preparation. Pero ang kano lang yung aabutin ng pesos sa euros eh. Kaya I would say that he could qualify for legal aid, citing his incapacity to pay.
Mabilis bang magpa-accredit? Kasi yung balita today from The Hague is Sara Duterte wants to be accredited as one of his legal counsels para daw she could get unimpeded access to him at hindi i-record yung conversation nila.
Hindi mabilis magpa-accredit as counsel before the court. In my case, I competence. Hindi expertise, but competence. I had to show that I had competence. And the difference between assistant to counsel is the years of experience. By the time I was applying, I think I only had 7 years pa lang, or mag-8. So for counsel, you need to have at least 10. So yun muna yung in-applyan ko. They asked me for my list of cases that I handled. Probably checking kung kung meron na ba akong enough experience to say that I am competent to appear before a court, a criminal court, and more so an international criminal court. So I hope VP Sara can produce that proof of her expertise in international law.
Kung walang ganon, hindi siya pwede sa tingin mo?
Probably not. The decision is made members of the bar association. 3 yata na lawyers na accredited will talk about among themselves na ano ba to, okay ba to, expert ba to or not. That is aside from yung initial review by the registry of na-comply ba niya lahat ng mga kaganapan. And I'm just thinking, but she might get away with it, but you need to have a clearance from all courts, or clearance that you have no pending cases before local courts, that you have no pending disciplinary action in your jurisdiction. The impeachment case is not a criminal charge, nor is it an administrative charge. Diba? Sabi nga, sui generis. So I would say that she could get away with it. Na, since it's political also, hindi naman siya sa korte. Ang hinging kasing clearance ay sa courts. So,
kung file lang siya ng plunder case,
that could be a problem. She cannot secure a clearance. So, kung may pending criminal case ka, hindi ka makakakuha ng clearance, yun yung required ng court. Of course, you can argue na, I have this kind of case because I'm being persecuted within the area. I think in some instances, I might be wrong, but in some instances, the registry considers that na, baka yung kaso niya ay political and not really kumbaga a question on her competence. So we should probe further, but you need to prove why you cannot secure a clearance.
You mentioned kanina na baka dumami yung case. Did I hear you right? Kasi nagtatanong yung mga tao during the reading of the charges, bakit daw 43 lang yung cases? And in fact, ginagamit yan ngayon ng mga Duterte supporters. Sinasabi nila, nakakita nyo paano magiging crimes against humanity? Libo-libo sinasabi, ngayon 43 lang pala. What's your comment on that? There's
a misapprehension of how international law works and even criminal law works. Sa atin kasi, if you allege that he killed someone, you need to prove that this someone is killed. And that's murder. But in crimes against humanity, the charge is widespread and systematic attacks on a civilian population. Hindi sinabing, how do you prove the attacks? Hindi sinabing you need to prove every and all of the attacks. You need to prove that they're widespread. And you need to prove that they're systematic. Mas ganon. Kaya itong 43 would be representative or emblematic cases that will paint a picture of how the killings have happened. Hindi kailangan na yung 30,000 ang i-present mo doon. And it has never happened in any prior proceeding that they've brought out more than 1,000 of people. All you need to do to connect all the other killings is have pattern witnesses. And even the insider witnesses, if they can say that. Yung pattern witnesses will say that, this is how many people have been killed, and most of them have been killed in this manner. This is what we've observed. The insider witness can also say, yung 43, hindi ko naman kilala kung sino yan eh. Probably lang to Or, I know only of the 40, pero hindi ko kilala yung 3. Pero, merong pang iba. And they can talk about yung insider witness is someone from within the organization that committed the crime. Pwede nilang sabihin na, ganito kasi talaga. Dapat i-round up mo yung mga able-bodied men na nagkalat paggabi. And hindi ko na mabilang yon. Pero that's the protocol. So if you can establish that, you don't need to produce who are these able-bodied men. As long as you can prove widespread and systematic attacks on a civilian population.
Etong 43, they include your client?
Out of deference to the prosecutor, we cannot disclose. We're not in a position to disclose the identities or either to confirm or deny the identities of the witnesses because these are probably or dito manggagaling yung mga witnesses. And ingat na ingat ang ICC tungkol sa witnesses. Kaya mabanggitin ko lang din yung sa Zoom. Uso talaga sa ICC yung Zoom. Pero hindi para sa akusado, para sa witness. Because I've seen some hearings where the witness appears remotely pero within the premises of the court. Katulad ni Duterte. Kaya for me, okay lang na nandun siya sa court. Kaya lang parang ang lapit na Pero kasi yung sa sitwasyon naman ng victim, baka matrigger sila pag pumunta sila sa courtroom, dun sila umupo, tapos ayun yung perpetrator. As much as possible, the court would like to reduce instances of re-victimization or re-traumatization para kumbaga mas maayos ang mga bagay-bagay. Kaya familiar ako dun sa online na ganun talaga yung presentation. Kaya lang, hindi ko in-expect din na si Duterte as the accused, kumbaga, or the suspect will appear online.
But can we expect a physical in-person, confrontation in the court itself between Duterte and at least some of the victims?
Could be, yeah, if the victims will allow it and they're strong enough or mentally prepared for it, if the prosecutor will deem it necessary. Some victims testify also by by recorded video. So testimony na lang yung maririnig, hindi mo na maka-cross-examine. Some victims give a victim impact statement. The victim impact statement is not meant to, kumbaga, influence the evidence or to add to the evidence, but it's a victim impact statement. Parang the victim is given the opportunity to talk to and address the court and the defendant. Kaya I'm seeing that probability, pero under the specific parang proceeding of a victim, the delivery of a victim impact statement. Kumbaga, hindi sasagot yung kabila. Well, pwedeng pasagutin. Kunyari, magsusorry ka ba? Parang gano'n. Ito, hindi na to bahagi ng, hindi uso sa atin Usually kasi, pag-trial lang, gano'n. Pero ito, parang, can you say your piece? Victim, sige, kwento ka lang. Ihinga mo ang sama ng loob mo. Pwedeng gano'n. Without the intervention of a lawyer, without the intervention of the prosecutor.
Can we expect more victims? Can we expect more people to be added dun sa 43?
Yes, we could kasi sabi niya doon at least. And we would know before the confirmation of charges if they will add more. But if we think of this, yung incidents na yun yung propruwebahan sa korte. Pero there could be other victims. Kumbaga, iba yung itsura nito na baka akala natin 43 counts lang. Hindi. There is one crime, crimes against humanity, per se, of course, may counts, pero there is one crime. And under that overarching premise is that there were other victims as well. These other victims have the right to participate in the trial.
Before the confirmation of charges, malayo-layo pa, September 23, we are expecting, although hindi sinasabi ng kampo ni Duterte, that they might seek his interim release. Sa tingin niyo, being assistant to counsel, papayagan kaya yan? Because I understand it needs exceptional reason to grant it. Sa tingin niyo, under yung circumstance ni President Duterte, pwede kaya?
No. One, he's charged with the gravest of crimes, yung crimes against humanity, the four main crimes of the court, hindi pinapayagan or wala pang pinapayagan yung korte na mag-interim release na yun ang kaso. Merong interim release na grant pero hindi sa ganyang kaso. Only that for Article 70. And of course, the victims will oppose that.
Yung confirmation of charges, medyo wala sa mga proseso natin Ano ba yun actually? Marami nagtatanong.
Ang parang pinaka itsura niya ay arraignment. Sa arraignment, para dun sa familiar sa proceedings sa Pilipinas, ang nangyayari dyan, una, tayo, sinong akusado? Actually, yung unang tatanungin dyan, anong pangalan mo? Tama ba yung nandun sa information? Kaya, ganun din, first name, tama ba to? Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Spell mo nga, Roa? Okay. Sorry, Rodrigo Duterte E. Roa. Di ba? Ganyan sa korte. May E pa sila. O tama ba spelling? O address mo. Lagay nilang ganyan. The court usually corrects the information, meaning the document, if it's incorrect. So that's what happened during the initial appearance. Of course, may plus pa kasi alam mo ba yung karapatan mo, and so forth. Sa confirmation of charges, ito na yung halos equivalent. Ang hirap i-simplify, pero it is, kumbaga the bulk of it or the meat of it would be the reading of the charges and then your plea. So, babasahin yung sakdal, parang gano'n. Kaya lang, um, technically, it's the office of the prosecutor which will be asking for permission from the court to proceed with trial. Kukumbinsihin niya yung korte. And the decision might not likely be given right there and then. Puwedeng basahin lang yung charges tapos konting oral arguments. Pero the court may opt, I don't think that the court will confirm the charges right away. Sa September 23, hindi yun kaagad tutulak ng kaso, kumbaga. The court will still rule if they will confirm the charges.
Pero required na magpi-plea na si President Duterte. He will
Yes,
enter a plea na.
somewhat. Oo, somewhat. It depends on, kumbaga, ang hindi ko kasi matansya yung mga interlocutory orders. So, una, the date could be moved kung hindi pa tapos mag-decide on whatever issues. Kaya nabanggit yun ng judge na parang for now, it's September 23. But if there are exigencies, pwedeng move. But not earlier. Could only be later. Siyempre, to their benefit. Pero they could file many motions. Kung hindi pa yun naayos, baka i-consider na i-move yung date sa mismo confirmation of charges. Baka hindi pa nabibigay sa kanya yung mga dokumento. He could say that, I am not ready because the documents that I have are incomplete. The defense did not give me the full record, etc. So, anyway, eventually, the court will decide whether to confirm or not confirm with charges. Yun na yung parang sasabihin na, sige, magtuloy na tayong trial. And then we move on to pre-trial and then trial proper. Ito rin, there are deadlines or there are hard, hindi pwedeng gulatan. Yun na lang. Sa confirmation hearing, hindi pwedeng gulatan na, bakit bago yung ebidensya mo? The evidence should be provided to the defense prior. Kaya yun yung sinasabi kong posibleng sabihin nila on the day of the confirmation hearing, hindi pa sila kumpleto magbigay ng information kaya hindi kami makakasagot ngayon, parang gano'n. And then baka ma-delay. Although hopefully, ang takot ko kasi because I'm a practitioner in the Philippines, medyo sanay ako sa mga nagpapa-postpone. Kaya yung kay Medialdea, sorry to say, medyo natatawa na yung mga iba kasi, wow, galawang Filipino lawyer. The first thing you ask the court is for a postponement.
Pwede ba yun? Yan ang tanong din ng mga tao eh. Pwede ba yun na paulit-ulit postponement?
Generally, hindi. Hindi papayagan unless there are strict sila sa rules, strict sila sa time. But of course, hindi naman sa imposible. It could be possible, but you really need to prove yun nga, exceptional circumstances na hindi pa talaga kaya, and it's more of my substantial rights will be violated if we proceed with this today. Kaya lang nakakahiya din on an international arena na parang you're not ready or you did not prepare enough. Kaya you did not foresee na ganito yung kahinatnan. Kaya sana talagang maging magaling din talaga yung defense counsels.
Pinag-uusapan din ngayon, of course, yung mga attacks sa inyo online, mga trolls, not only you, no, other lawyers. Ano yung, meron kang pinost sa Facebook, sabi mo, it might backfire on the Duterte camp. And are you planning to report this or can you report it to the ICC kung ganon?
Well, yes. Yeah, we can tell the court that there are attacks, etc. One, as a manifestation. Second, as a possible additional crime. So crimes against the offenses against the administration of justice. But I would say that the standards are high. The thing is, Duterte could have an additional charge dito kung merong obstruction of justice. Generally, yun yung naintindihan natin sa Pilipinas. Intimidation of witnesses, attacks on the court, kumbaga generally anything that will hinder the administration of justice for the court to do its work, or if you ask the court to not do its work or to do its work improperly and so forth. So yun yung parang general framework ng offenses against the administration of justice. If these attacks coordinated can be traced back to their camp, that this is intended to malign, to undermine the proceedings, and to intimidate witnesses or potential witnesses. If the court sees this as something similar to the previous cases, kasi sa previous cases medyo malaki yung kaso, tipong may pinapatay na witness. Talagang siya ang nagpapatay, kumbaga within their group. If we can prove that, then let's see how the court will take it. Pero again, that's just the maximum. The minimum is we manifest to the court these kinds of attacks. Or if not the court, to the prosecutor.
You will need to record the incidents, diba? Are you planning to record or are you now recording these attacks? Kasi madali naman yan diba? Click-click ka lang dyan.
Screenshot. Well, pero medyo mataas yung standards din nila. If before
Ganon.
you can click pero you need the URL, you need the hindi
Kasi
pwedeng edited, yung mga ganon.
Okay.
So, etc. So, but thankfully there are parang many volunteers who are saying, oh, screenshot niyo lahat. So sabi namin, sige lang, keep a repository. Because if not for this proceeding, eventually, even domestic proceedings we could consider. Pero sabi nga namin, ang hirap naman pag maging litigious tayo lagi na may ganit, konting kembot lang, may kaso na agad, konting ganito lang. Kibot-kibot mo, pupunta akong korte. Ang intention din namin is to set the record straight. And this kind of attacks are difficult on the part of the victims kasi parang re-victimization yan na parang inuulit. Kaya ang pwede naming tingnan din sa ngayon on a parang more general or non-legal perspective is how the attacks will encourage or discourage victims to come forward as well as witnesses. Kung anong magiging epekto nun. Dun mas kami nako-concern kasi yun hindi naman sa it will make or break the case. Kasi for all we know, the prosecutor is trial ready. Pero grabing disenfranchisement yun. Kung elections, no, parang ini-intimidate ka, huwag ka na lang bumoto, hindi mo rin naman ako iboboto. Parang ganon. Sa takot mo, hindi ka na nga talaga bumoto. Sayang yung boto. Karapatan mo pa naman yun. So for the victims, karapatan nilang mag-participate. Kung matatakot sila at tatakutin sila, grabe yung mababawi sa kanila. They will be victims the second time over.
Are you planning to seek help from the Philippine government? Parang witness protection of some sort sa ganyan?
We could consider, it depends on the circumstances. We could consider that because the court does not outright give protection to those who are not witnesses. In the converse, the court only provides protection or yung services nila to witnesses. And if you're not a witness, just a victim, kumbaga, you might not qualify for that program. The thing is, even for them, hirap ang court na mag-protect ng witnesses or victims kasi parang masyadong marami. Ma-overwhelm sila. Alam naman maging full-time job nila yan. Kaya, ang caution talaga nila ay with caution. Yung pag-move forward na pagsasabi kung part ka ng ICC or not. Pero there's one thing I'd like to clarify. Some of the victims have come forward but not all of them are part of the ICC. Wala kaming kino-confirm na part ng ICC or parang, kumbaga, part ka ba ng 43? Parang may ganun silang iniisip yung DDS. Ito, aatakihin namin si Aling Sheila kasi baka part siya ng and maybe it will help soften the case against Duterte. No, even if you attack those victims, you wouldn't know who the 43 victims or cases that will be presented before the court. You don't know who the pattern witnesses are. You don't know who the insider witnesses are. And sabihin na nating hindi victim yung anak ni Aling Sheila. If you're familiar with that, yung whole debacle about Aling Sheila. And ngayon, there's still 29,999 dead. But here's the thing. Medyo premature, but in the case of Aling Sheila, her son was a victim of arrest and detention. So she had a right to be present and ask for accountability from Duterte. Well, one, may mga nagtatag na parang sabi, here's how you can get screenshots. Gusto mo lang mag-comment kaya lang hindi pa ako nagkapanahon na please also get the URL and then kung sino yung nag-post, get the parang profile picture of the poster as well. Hindi lang yung mismong post. So URL of the post, screenshot of the poster and any other identifying details. First, parang isipin niyo na lang na hindi Pilipino ang titingin yan. Someone outside of our culture. Kaya kung Facebook, Hindi lahat sila may Facebook or, ano yan? And, kaya ito, merong mga nagsi-screenshot, tinatag kami na parang, we're creating a repository. So we're happy that people are generally responsive and not apathetic. Kahit ganun pa lang. Even yung mga DDS medyo natutuwa kami na or kahit paano 'no na, well, engaged sila. Kaya lang nakakalungkot when you come to think of it, hindi yata legitimate yung ibang posts kasi I have now a sort of stalker. So, si ano, Igor something. So, kinokomenta niya lahat ng posts ko sa Instagram. Tapos parehong comment, ganun lang. Tapos parang pointless. Parang anong ibig sabihin nito? Kaya baka hindi rin totoong mga tao. Kaya we have to be wise. Ako, I do not generally engage, but I need to show people this is how they work. This is how they galawan nila to. And if we can trace that back to Duterte, again, to the previous question, baka pwedeng pumasok na these are crimes or offenses against the administration of justice.
Attorney, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung mga protests in favor, in support of the Dutertes, no? Anong message mo to their supporters? They're quite passionate about what they think about what's happening now.
Well, I support the right to express, as long as they do not do anything kumbaga, violent. And I'm just worried that because of Duterte's penchant for violence and violent speech, baka kumbaga may saltik dyan, tapos tutugon accordingly. Sabi kasi ni tatay, ganito eh. I understand they are under the impression that some of Duterte's violent statements are just jokes. Na parang, hindi naman, that's not what he meant. But I fear for their sanity because the desensitization for you to say that, kunyari, papatayin kita ganyan. For you to say na, gino-joke mo lang ako love mo naman talaga ako Grabe yung ano nun, yung pagbabago sa isip. Parang medyo baka may chemical imbalance na. But, yung general na panawagan ko sa kanila is, please try to uplift the discussion and wag niyo kaming hilahin sa burak, sa kanal na degrading each person's identity. So, ang hirap kung walang totoong discussion, no genuine discussion. And I've also seen that in lawyers groups where you would see na parang hindi ko kasi sinasabi, I mean, relatively itong lawyers are well-informed, well-educated, and they would even, to some extent, know about due process. Even in lawyers groups, the debate is raging. And there are ad hominem attacks and even oversimplification fallacies na parang sabi niyo ganito, edi ibig sabihin ganito. Kaya parang kami, ang hirap mag-engage if you only have a limited time and limited space. Alam nga naman gumawa ka ng dissertation sa Facebook post, di ba? Kaya tiyaga na lang siguro at saka pasensya kasi pagdadaanan talaga natin yan Kumbaga, kung sa trolls, nabayaran na yan. Kaya hindi talaga tatantanan nila yung pag-aano kasi trabaho nila yan. Pero yung dun sa mga regular na tao, sabihin na natin na talagang passionate nagde-defend, sana wag namang magpakatanga for free. Taasan din natin yung level ng education natin para kapag kinakausap tayo ng iba, naiintindihan tayo at nakaka-convince pa ng mas marami.
Attorney, nag-uumpisa pa lang 'tong process kaya I'm afraid things might get worse before they get better, no? I know you're very busy at pakakawalan na po namin kayo ngayon. Marami pong salamat for joining Truth on the Line. Babantayan po namin kung ano yung mga next steps nyo in the
Thank you
coming
very
weeks.
much and thank you for giving us the opportunity to clarify so many things and then for putting out the appeal na magpakatalino naman tayo. Kasi sabi nga namin, wag na lang tayo mag-engage kung hindi natin ikakaganda o ikakatalino. Sana ganun yung maging motto nating lahat. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you for tuning in to Truth on the Line. I am Ami Pamintuan, delivering stories that matter and news with integrity. Only truth shall prevail. Until the next episode.